So, Formula 1 will not have the fastest lap point for the 2025 season. I think it was brought in back in, 2019, something like that, as a real throwback to the old days of Formula 1. I think before that it hadn't been in the sport since the 1950s. But now F1 has given a reason for this extra point to be scrapped. And I want to go through the reason for this, because at the end of the day, we've kind of been theorizing about why this is, and also giving our take as to why, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing for Formula 1. For me, I'm kind of on the fence. I did like having the fastest lap point, but there were instances when a certain, like for example, when a certain Daniel Ricciardo did so in Singapore, even though he was well outside the points, just to take it away from McLaren. That kind of made me think, well, it's maybe not a force completely for good, but on the whole, I did enjoy the tactical aspect to it. But let's have a look at what's been said on this, guys. Full article on the F1Chronicle.com as always. Formula 1 axed the fastest lap bonus point for the 2025 season because it was controversial. Interesting. Last October, the FIA's World Motorsport Council ratified the removal of the extra point for a top 10 finisher, but did not explain why. Many suspected it was directly related to a highly controversial incident involving McLaren's Lando Norris in Singapore. In that race, Daniel Ricciardo's late pit stop for new tyres in the Red Bull-owned Racing Bulls car and subsequent fastest lap deprived Norris of a much-needed point in his title fight with Max Verstappen. You know, it was Daniel's last race, but it was something also to take away from me, Norris stated at the time. If it was done with that intent, then obviously I won't agree with that, and I don't think something that Formula 1 would agree with either. Months later, F1 has finally admitted that it was this sort of controversy that triggered the decision to scrap the fastest lap point. In a post on its official social media website, Formula 1 explained since 2019 a driver finishing in the top 10 could earn a bonus point by setting the fastest lap of the race. Sometimes that meant drivers would still be pushing late on to try and take the accolade, or even make late pit stops for fresh rubber to increase their return. But it also opened up the possibility for a car outside the top 10 to pit and take the point away from another driver, even if they weren't going to get it themselves. And with the bonus point sometimes proving a controversial topic, the decision was taken to remove it from the scoring system this year. Okay. I mean, that's kind of why we expected it to be. I mean, I can't remember what I said at the time on the whole, like specifically, but I did kind of come down on the side of, well, I do think it's an interesting thing, but at the end of the day, it's something that is controversial because of that. I mean, on the whole, we haven't really seen that many controversial fastest lap points. It's really last year's Singapore Grand Prix that stands out. Aside from that, what normally would have happened is that you'd have someone in the top 6 or so, and they'd have a big gap to the guys behind them, so they'd pay. If they were in 6th place, they'd get the fastest lap on the last lap, which is fair game in my opinion. That's tactical. It's not what it's purely intended for, but it does add an element of excitement to the closing stages of a Grand Prix, particularly if a Grand Prix is not the most exciting. You know, you've got something to look forward to. Who's going to get the fastest lap bonus point? Because every point counts. We've seen several championships decided by a point, even half a point in the case of 1984. So it has happened before where guys have been really, really close, and it does happen. You know, it's not uncommon at all. So yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand it. You might say it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but the fact that that happened means that it could well happen again, and we're just going to get more controversy. And Formula 1 has enough controversy. Simple as that. It doesn't need any more. It's got plenty to go around. I'd say the fastest lap point was not the most controversial thing about the sport. You can probably guess what I'm referring to there. But yeah, anyway, guys, your thoughts in the comments below. Are you happy that the fastest lap point is gone? Do you not really care? I want to hear your thoughts about this. And of course, the question remains, were Red Bull or RB right to pit Daniel Ricciardo in the last lap? Was it because they were trying to take that point away from Lando Norris, or was it because it was Daniel Ricciardo's last race and they wanted to give him a kind of a high to bow out on, even though he was like 15th place or whatever? That's a controversial one, I'm sure. So yeah, see you soon for some more F1 content right here. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, and of course, we'll see you soon for some more F1 action here on the F1Chronicle.com.